Welcome to my channel Human Being, where we dive into the fascinating world of the human mind. Today, we're exploring mind-blowing psychology facts about human behavior, why we act, think, and feel the way we do. Whether you're a psychology buff or just curious about what makes us tick, you're in for a treat. Hit that subscribe button and let's unravel the secrets of our brains together. Fascinating psychology. Facts about human behavior. Human behavior is a complex tapestry woven from biology, environment, and experience. Our actions, thoughts, and emotions often follow patterns that psychologists have studied for decades, revealing surprising insights into why we do what we do. Whether you're a curious reader or a listener tuning in, this video dives into some of the most intriguing psychology facts about human behavior, backed by science and sprinkled with real-world examples. Let's explore the quirks, biases, and hidden drivers of our minds. 1. The power of first impressions. The halo effect. First impressions are more powerful than you might think. The halo effect is a cognitive bias where our initial judgment of someone influences how we perceive their other traits. If someone seems charming or attractive at first glance, we're likely to assume they're also intelligent, kind, or competent, even without evidence. For example, in a job interview, a candidate who dresses sharply and smiles warmly might be rated higher than an equally qualified but less polished candidate. Studies, like those by psychologist Edward Thorndike in the 1920s, show that this bias can skew judgments in workplaces, relationships, and even courtrooms. The flip side, called the Horn effect, works similarly. A negative first impression can taint our view of someone's other qualities. Takeaway: be mindful of snap judgments. They're often based on superficial cues rather than reality. Next time you meet someone, pause and consider whether your impression is based on evidence or just a gut feeling. 2. We're wired to seek patterns. Apophenia. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. This tendency, called apophenia, drives us to find meaning in random or unrelated events. It's why we see faces in clouds or believe a string of coincidences is fate. This trait helped our ancestors survive by recognizing patterns in nature, like predicting animal migrations or spotting predators. However, apophenia can lead us astray. For instance, gamblers often believe they're due for a win after a losing streak, a phenomenon known as the gambler's fallacy. Research by psychologists like Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman shows this bias stems from our brain's desire to impose order on chaos. In everyday life, apophenia might make you think your lucky shirt brings success or that a random event is a sign. Takeaway: embrace your brain's love for patterns, but question whether they're real or just your mind connecting dots that don't exist. 3. The bystander effect. Why we freeze in emergencies. Imagine witnessing an accident. You'd help, right? Not always. The bystander effect suggests that the more people present in an emergency, the less likely any one person is to act. This counterintuitive behavior, studied by psychologists John Darley and Biblittani in the 1960s, stems from diffusion of responsibility. We assume someone else will step up, so we hesitate. A famous case is the 1964 murder of Kitty Genovese, where reports, though later debated, suggested multiple witnesses didn't intervene. Experiments show that in a crowd, individuals feel less accountable, and social cues, like others staying passive, reinforce inaction. However, if you're alone, you're more likely to help. Takeaway: in a crisis, don't wait for others to act. Be the first to step up or directly ask someone for help to break the bystander spell. 4. The Dunning-Kruger effect. Ignorance feels like confidence. Ever met someone who's loudly confident but clearly clueless? That's the Dunning-Kruger effect at work. This cognitive bias, identified by psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger in 1999, shows that people with low competence in a skill often overestimate their abilities. Meanwhile, experts tend to underestimate theirs because they're aware of how much they don't know. For example, a novice driver might feel overly confident after a few lessons, while a seasoned driver knows the road's unpredictability. This effect explains why internet debates are often dominated by the least informed voices. The less you know, the simpler the world seems. Takeaway: stay humble and curious. If you feel supremely confident, double-check your knowledge. It might be a sign you're missing something. 5. The Zeigarnik effect. Why unfinished tasks haunt us. Ever had a song stuck in your head or couldn't stop thinking about an unfinished project? That's the Zeigarnik effect, named after psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik. Her research in the 1920s found that people remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. Our brains nag us to finish what we've started, creating mental tension. This explains why cliffhangers in TV shows keep you hooked, or why you obsess over an unanswered email. Marketers use this by creating open loops, e.g., to be continued, and productivity gurus suggest starting tasks to leverage this mental itch to finish them. Takeaway: to reduce mental clutter, jot down unfinished tasks or break big projects into smaller, completable steps to ease the brain's nagging. 6. We're swayed by social proof. Humans are social animals, and we often look to others to guide our decisions. This is called social proof, a principle studied by Robert Cialdini. When uncertain, we assume the crowd knows best. It is why we choose a busy restaurant over an empty one or buy products with glowing reviews. Social proof can backfire, though. In 2018, a study in Nature showed how fake reviews on e-commerce sites can mislead consumers. It also fuels trends like viral TikTok challenges, where people join in because everyone's doing it. On the flip side, social proof can promote positive behavior, like recycling when you see neighbors doing it. Takeaway: be aware of herd mentality. Before following the crowd, ask if their actions align with your values or goals. 7. The paradox of choice. More isn't always better. Having options feels empowering, but too many choices can paralyze us. Psychologist Barry Schwartz's paradox of choice suggests that excessive options lead to anxiety, indecision, and dissatisfaction. A 2000 study by Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper found that shoppers were more likely to buy jam when offered 6 flavors instead of 24. In modern life, this paradox hits hard. Think of scrolling endless Netflix titles or choosing a career path. Too many options make us second-guess our decisions, fearing we missed a better choice. Takeaway: simplify decisions by setting clear criteria or limiting options. Sometimes, less is more. 8. The spotlight effect. We overestimate how much others notice us. Ever felt like everyone's judging your outfit or mistake? The spotlight effect says we overestimate how much others notice or care about us. Psychologists Thomas Gilovich and Kenneth Savitsky found that people assume their actions are under a magnifying glass, but others are too busy with their own lives to care. For instance, if you spill coffee on your shirt, you might feel mortified, but studies show others barely notice or quickly forget. This effect stems from our self-focused perspective. We're the main character in our own story, but not in others. Takeaway: don't sweat the small stuff. Others aren't as focused on you as you think, so take risks and be yourself. 9. The mere exposure effect. Familiarity breeds liking. Why do we love songs after hearing them a few times? The mere exposure effect, studied by Robert Zionk, shows that familiarity increases liking. The more we're exposed to something, a song, a face, or even a brand, the more we tend to prefer it, even unconsciously. This is why advertisers repeat slogans, and why you might warm up to a colleague after repeated interactions. However, it works best with neutral or positive stimuli. Overexposure to something negative can amplify dislike. Takeaway: give new things a chance. Repeated exposure might turn indifference into appreciation. 10. The endowment effect. We overvalue what we own. Ever struggled to sell your old car or part with a sentimental item? The endowment effect, researched by Richard Thaler, shows we value things more once we own them. Ownership creates an emotional attachment, making us demand more to give something up than we pay to acquire it. In experiments, participants given a mug demanded higher prices to sell it than others offered to buy it. This explains why we cling to possessions or overprice items in yard sales. Takeaway: when decluttering or negotiating, ask yourself if you'd value the item as much if it wasn't yours. It helps you let go. 11. The Pygmalion effect. Expectations shape outcomes. Our expectations of others can shape their behavior, a phenomenon called the Pygmalion effect. In a 1968 study by Robert Rosenthal and Lenore Jacobson, teachers were told certain students were gifted. Those students, randomly selected, performed better because teachers gave them more attention and encouragement. This effect shows up in workplaces, parenting, and relationships. If you expect someone to succeed, your positive attitude can inspire them to rise to the occasion. Conversely, low expectations can hinder performance. Takeaway: believe in others' potential. Your encouragement can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. 12. We're bad at predicting our emotions. Effective forecasting. Humans are terrible at predicting how they'll feel in the future, a concept called effective forecasting. Psychologists Daniel Gilbert and Timothy Wilson found we overestimate the emotional impact of events, both good and bad. For example, you might think a breakup will devastate you forever, but most people recover faster than expected. This bias stems from our focus on single events while ignoring context, like social support or new opportunities. It is why we dread public speaking but feel fine afterward, or expect a new gadget to bring lasting joy. Spoiler, it doesn't. Takeaway: trust that you're more resilient than you think. Don't let fear of future feelings stop you from taking action. 13. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Frequency illusion. Ever learned a new word and suddenly saw it everywhere? That's the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, or frequency illusion. It's not that the word suddenly appeared, it's that your brain, now aware of it, notices it more. This combines selective attention, focusing on what's relevant, and confirmation bias, seeking evidence that supports your new knowledge. This effect explains why, after buying a red car, you notice red cars everywhere. It's not magic. Your brain is just primed to spot them. Takeaway: be skeptical of sudden trends. Your brain might be amplifying what's already there. 14. Cognitive dissonance. When beliefs and actions clash. When our actions don't match our beliefs, we feel psychological discomfort called cognitive dissonance. Leon Festinger's 1957 theory explains why smokers justify their habit despite knowing it as harmful. They reduce dissonance by downplaying risks or emphasizing enjoyment. This shows up in everyday life. You might feel guilty for skipping the gym, but convince yourself it's fine because you deserve a break. Our brains crave consistency, so we tweak our beliefs or actions to align. Takeaway: recognize when you're rationalizing. Facing dissonance head-on can lead to better decisions. 15. The Hawthorne Effect. Behavior changes when watched people alter their behavior when they know they're being observed, a phenomenon called the Hawthorne Effect. Named after studies in the 1920s at a factory where workers' productivity improved under observation, this effect highlights how awareness of scrutiny influences actions. For example, you might work harder if your boss is watching or eat healthier during a study. This complicates research, as participants' behavior might not reflect their norm. Takeaway: use this to your advantage. Track your habits or share goals with a friend to boost accountability. Conclusion: the marvel of the human mind. Human behavior is a fascinating puzzle, shaped by biases, instincts, and social influences. From the halo effect coloring our first impressions to the Zeigarnik effect nagging us about unfinished tasks, these psychology facts reveal the hidden forces driving our actions. Understanding them not only makes us wiser about ourselves, but also more empathetic toward others. Next time you catch yourself following the crowd, overvaluing your old couch, or freezing in a crisis, remember, your brain is playing by rules honed over millennia. By recognizing these patterns, you can navigate life with more clarity and intention. So, whether you're reading this or listening along, let these insights spark curiosity about the most complex machine of all, the human mind. What's your favorite psychology fact? Try observing these quirks in your daily life, and you might be surprised at how often they pop up. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the psychology of human behavior. If you enjoyed learning about what drives us, give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who defined it as fascinating as you did. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more mind-bending insights, and I'll see you in the next video.